with Guys Games and Beer, and I will say I'm also with Guys Games and Beer, and I'm with, and then you get to go. Yeah.
I'm with Guys,
not.
Games,
That
and
is a
Beer. No, seriously. It's Drunken Larry back here with multiple interviews that we've been doing at Game Hulk 2024.
Larry
and I'm
is
with...
stacked. Rob, and I'm with Guys Games and Beer, and I'm with...
I am Rich
There you go.
Flair. I am with Skydon Game Studios.
We have so many pauses. You would
Okay,
not
so,
believe it.
so you know...
We do tend to get people pretty drunk before we...
Oh,
yeah, I mean, mostly
Yeah,
ourselves. But,
I can't drink beer now, so I mean that's a detriment for me.
yeah, so, okay.
No.
Like, so whiskey then? You know,
Yeah,
I-
You working?
You got some bourbon? I'm there.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Good?
think the drink case is around here somewhere. The
want
he's a
drunk
whiskey
Mel.
man. So, but anyways,
We're not
Uh,
on, right?
Yeah, we are.
yeah, we're totally.
been on.
What is he doing?
We've literally been talking.
I was trying to
and
tell
she's
you.
looking at me.
Yeah, no, I've
Hey,
been
Larry.
trying to keep us on focus.
Larry, I thought you
I
were on
would say-
preview.
I would say to Tom, he's a whiskey man. Do we have the train case?
All right, can we start?
Help out.
This
All
turned
right.
into another thing.
Help a brother
So,
out.
anyways,
Can we?
you know what? You said you were with,
Skydon Game Studios.
and you know
Awesome.
what? I don't know what that is. So help me out.
We make games. We are a tabletop RPG developer. Right now, I'm the owner of that company. The current projects we're working on, I am also working on as a lead designer for Alligator Alley Entertainment, which is publisher for the games we're producing.
Awesome.
So our normal disembodied is very geeked about what you were doing, and he's like, "This is just like wow." So tell me what that is.
We had recently licensed the IP for the Phantasy Star for licensed by Sega Corporation. We're super excited about it. I'm super excited about it. Phantasy Star is my very, very, very favorite video game franchise that I know far too much about, and we were fortunate enough to license the IP. We're developing a tabletop RPG based on that, using the rules from my own Esper Genesis system, which is a 5th edition sci-fi game system, and it was inspired by my favorite sci-fi and anime and video games, including Phantasy Star. So I'm able to take all of that inspiration, bring it full circle back to kind of the thing I wanted to work on in the first place.
So so has Sega licensed any other RPGs, or is this like their first, like, okay, let's give this a shot?
Not to my knowledge. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, not to my knowledge. But I was always a Sega kid growing up.
Awesome.
Everybody else was Nintendo.
To,
But
to rewind, this is one of the very first MMORPG. I mean, this is one of the first where a lot of people actually people got into online games.
You mean the video game version?
Yes.
yeah, the video game.
Right,
version.
right,
so
right.
there is an MMO, which
Yep.
was Phantasy Star Online.
And we didn't call them MMOs back in the
No,
day.
no,
but-
no, not at
Yeah,
all, not at
yeah,
all.
nothing.
But that MMO actually came out from a set of video games, a series of video games.
Yep.
The first one came out in America in '88, and it was kind of a fluke, really. You had like a whole bunch of a big diverse team that would almost just never exist back then in the '80s, working on a video game, and they were kind of making sort of like hey, let's make something that's similar to Dragon Warrior on Nintendo. And then one of the creators was like, they're a huge Star Wars fan, which I'm a huge Star Wars fan. They said, you know what? Why don't we just throw in some sci-fi and throw in like some space opera and just mix it together? And it never,
Opera!
it was totally new. And my little 13-year-old brain looked at it
Right.
and was like, and the gears started shifting. Like, wait, you can do both of these at the same time? And
I'm
then
cultured now.
Yeah. So that's when I fell in love with the franchise. That being so.
so we're taking the idea of a multi-player online game and just like putting it into, hey, we can now play this in our home.
Yep.
But we
Wait,
could play it in our
so
home, but
we've
not
taken it-
without that.
We've taken a web based thing and made it a land analog.
That is true.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, that's fair enough. Look at it.
So the fan base for what I've noticed is that the fan base for the IP, they're small, but like me, they're very rabid, and the stuff that I'm putting in, people haven't seen new things for that level of the IP in maybe 30 years.
Hmm.
So
Well, I think time and tide, right? So technology does different things, and everyone kind of gets excited about it. But much like vinyl, people are sort of going back a little bit to couch games and LAN games, and so you
Fair.
might be hitting a good timing on this.
yeah, I mean, I'm
Where
I'm just
you
a-
get together in person and do this thing.
I'm just a tabletop nerd, so I think what we like to do is, yes, we like to get together in person at a table and talk about and do the things that we love, and that in-person experience is very different from just playing a video game on your own.
It's more of an exploration. You've got more flexibility to do something different with the whole IP.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
And if
this is going to be a challenge. This is a challenge question.
Go ahead, go for it.
So you love tabletop and everything.
I do.
But you know what? I mean, there's the thing you're doing, and then there's the sort of, I don't know, side talk that happens, or the side things. So, best joke at the table.
Oh, that's a loaded question. I can't. No, I'm on camera. That's not gonna happen.
There are some things you can't say.
I mean, because it happens, right? And then I think that's the charm of being five guys in a room, or gals, or whoever.
So,
You just say things, and then they're funny, and that's what the points added is, right?
You can take like the idea of an IP and then explore it in ways that you couldn't do in a video game.
Yeah.
There's flexibility in online games, but there's way more flexibility when you're allowed to basically manage it yourself.
that's one of the big goals of this game in particular, because it's based off of such a long-standing IP. There's one thing that's very particular to those games, or at least that original series, is that your actions in one game, they have like this generational shift into the storyline, and so bringing that aspect into a tabletop game lets people create these huge sprawling epic sagas with different characters. Hey, my character did this, in this last campaign, and it now has all of these major ramifications in the campaign now. And if it's almost like you're still playing your old character with playing a new character, because what you've already done before matters.
You can take that fellow with you.
Yep.
Or gal with you.
And
Yeah.
even sometimes, I mean, it's a sci-fi game. They could just show up, right?
Let's talk a little bit about the engine itself. The engine itself is actually new. This is not like, I mean, it's one that you invented. You're not using like a standard engine that's used from other games.
It is. So Esper Genesis is it does use the bare bones for 5th edition D&D. It was designed as an OGL game. At the same time, there was not much as far as expanded sci-fi rules. There were a few of us that were working on it, but you didn't have in D&D, you didn't have blasters, you didn't have starships, you didn't have things in science fiction like cybernetics, and you didn't have the Matrix, and so I had developed all of those rules so that the goal is anybody that's actually played 5th edition D&D will be like, oh, I'm familiar with the base system, but it's a very different feel because all of the mechanics are their own system that integrates with the base.
So you roll for success.
Yep.
And
Oh,
My question-
it's been all day.
Is this an over or under system? Do you have to roll under a number or over a number?
Over a number.
Over a
number.
number.
That is a thing, you know. That's yeah. It's
Back
odd. We found that like rolling under or rolling over has been like a major debate with a
I
lot of different
think-
systems.
back in the old days, we'll use the same thing as D&D. There was a lot of rolling under the number, and that everybody just kind of looked at everything and said, "Why are we doing this?" Because subtraction is harder, and and that's
And you
I-
care.
yes, I
Yeah.
care. Yeah, you're right. As a guy who has many beers when he plays,
You want to
yeah,
subtract that.
I only want to add.
I'd like
No,
to
it's
subtract right
multiplication.
about now.
No,
I
it's
mean,
never
you
going to
know.
happen.
So the engine ties into the lore.
yes.
The lore. And you ended up working with Sega themselves. And did that put any limitations?
Yes. There are contractual limitations that I also cannot discuss on camera, but I mean
Well,
it's one of the things with working with an intellectual property, right? You know, you're actually you're doing something with another company. It's their IP, which is also their branding and their image, and you know, for all of the things that they created that you love, you want to pay some respect to all of that.
Right. I mean, they didn't sign off on sexual violence. You know, they.
No.
no.
Um,
But I mean,
that is
I
not
do-
in my game, by the way.
Well,
Yeah,
that's right. They didn't sign off on it. Yeah, but you know, nothing quite as dramatic as that is just breaking canon.
Well, okay. So there is when you're making a tabletop game that allows people to create their own stories. That canon, you know, just what you give them as canon isn't canon for their game. It's not like they're publishing or producing anything that's going in print or anything
It's
like
the whole
that.
point.
Yeah,
is
that's
to make it your
exactly.
own. Right.
That's the whole point. I mean, that being said, I also wanted to. So there are there's RPG fans, and then there are Phantasy Star fans. So there are people that play Phantasy Star that don't play tabletop games at all. And so another goal of mine was to take a large portion of the book, probably close to half of it, and create kind of like I guess like a story, like a world guide, if you will, like a whole, here's all, everything that we remember and that we experienced, and all of the follow-ups and all of the stories and all the characters from the franchise.
Right, and that's where I think you might run risk of canon, right? In giving that sort of preamble
Yeah.
of this is the way the world works in this world, right?
Sure.
You know, and I mean we all feel that canon's been broken in a few of our favorite genres.
So
We're not gonna get into that conversation.
what I'm reading is
You know, Star Wars, Star Trek.
the difference is that the canon's established, and what the GM does
Mm-hmm.
is up to them. You know, whether they break canon or not, that is up to them.
I
Given the
have
flexibility.
a possibly unpopular example I'll use Star Wars. I am a massive Star Wars nerd,
All right.
massive Star Wars nerd. But I go in with the understanding that just like any other campaign, when you start at the table, Star Wars never actually had canon. They were making things up on the fly, and things
Yeah.
changed all the time in the beginning. So to treat any of that as gospel is like, come on, man. You know, all this,
I mean, even Star Trek. I mean, to be
yeah,
fair, right?
it's,
It had some, but
yeah,
How did
yeah.
you know there were four
they didn't
quadrants?
expect it to be analyzed so closely. I
Exactly.
think.
Sometimes things change, and
What's
that's
the
all-
E quadrant like?
They played with it. Okay. So one question I would like to ask is, with the game kit, what do you get?
with the game itself.
Mhm.
So we have a core book. Well, we also have a starter adventure that we have playtesting at this con, and We have a core book that's going to be outlined for how to create characters and campaigns that can be used and played in the Phantasy Star universe, in the storyverse, if you will. And you can, you have a choice of doing whatever. You can create characters that exist. You can create, Alice and Rolf and Chaz and Nay and Lutz and all of the old characters and try and and play through either existing storylines. You can create expansions of things that already happened, or you can just create your whole brand new thing, and say,
Cool.
it's the universe that you're in. We have certain things that are unique to that you can just take and adapt to your own game. There's like I mentioned before, there's going to be like a generational mechanic advice as to like how to take your game and adapt it to a broader story. The lore you can pull from, as suggestions on for people that are just fans and that haven't played the game before, that love the lore. Here's how to take all of that and just kind of fine tune it into something you can sit at the table at with your friends.
Awesome.
Well, you clearly got our normal disembodied off-camera voice excited. Maybe we'll even have a G2B Fantasy Star RPG group. Who knows?
Never know. Real quick, we do get a lot of developers watching the show. Hardest thing about the development? It's always the roughest question.
Actually, I had this conversation recently. Probably the hardest thing, at start, is having an idea of what your finish is going to be, and you got to work backwards from there. Because if you just kind of start, you'll never get to that end if you don't know what it looks like.
So have an outline for the love.
Everyone has a
always.
great opening line, but do you have the ending?
Fair.
HBO did.
I mean, we have this problem with our show all the time. All the time. Speaking of,
With that,
if they'd like to check you out, what website should they go to?
You can find us at skydongames.com. The Fantasy Star website specifically is skydongames.com/fantasystar. Sign up for the newsletter. We send out kind of previews and what's coming up and what our plans are. You can find Espergenesis at espergenesis.com, which will take you to its own website, and you can learn all about the goodies there.
Awesome. Thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you.
on.
Thanks for having me
Appreciate
on.
it. Hey, if you would like to watch more Guys, Games, and Beer, you can go to www.guysgamesandbeer.net. You can check us out on iTunes or all the podcasting places, courtesy of RSS.com. I appreciate that. You cut it. Yeah.